Life throws a lot of challenges to us at every point in time. Who do you confide in your most down moment? When your back is against the wall, where do you seek answers or counsel? We bring you July's edition of Ask the Author, where conversations are tailored to solving everyday life issues. This program comes to assure each and every one of us that no matter the circumstance, you are never alone. My name is Stephanie Otro, your regular host. Do stay with us for more. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show, and thank you for staying with us. Do you feel less of yourself when you are around him or her? When your spouse gets home, how do you feel? Do you freak out when his name or her name pop up on the screen? That word that he said to you, which made you vow never to try again. This and many more could be prompters of abuse. But the good news is that we have our resource person in our midst, who is the head pastor of International Central Gospel Church, the Harvest Temple, Sunyani. He also doubles as a life coach. And tonight he will be sharing with us his expert knowledge on abuse. Welcome to the show, Pastor Ato.
Thank you very much.
We always feel honored. We are always honored to have you here.
I'm honored to be here.
Okay, how is the family?
Family is doing great, very great. I hope you are doing well too.
Same, yeah. Okay. So how was the 40 days of power with our congregation for the first time?
Okay, we have congregation. The congregation is still there. It's just not in-person service, and it's a little different, but it is exciting, and I believe that we are able to reach out to more people now, because online, so anybody else can join in the prayer at any time that you want, from any part of the world. So it's a learning curve. We're still learning.
Sure.
We're still breaking fallow grounds, like Dr. Tabo told us. So we'll keep trying.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Welcome once again to the show.
Thank you.
All right. To my viewers, you can join in the conversation to share your thoughts and your questions and your opinions on our Facebook platform at theharvesttemple.com. WhatsApp on 0544 633 765. 0544 633 765. Facebook at The Harvest Temple. Pastor Ato. So let's get talking.
Okay.
All right. So on the subject of abuse, when we talk of abuse, what is abuse?
Abuse. Generally, abuse is defined as the misuse of a thing, a place, a person. So, it was Dr. Marsh Moran who said that when a purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. But in the case of abuse of a person, abuse of another person, it's not necessarily the misuse of a thing or a person, but it's all about control and power, control and dominance. So abuse in clinical areas or fields is defined as a pattern of behavior where a person consistently uses that pattern to dominate and to control another person. So the operative word is a pattern. So they consistently do it to dominate, to control, to exert power and influence over another person. Now, the operative word again, I said, is pattern, meaning that if a thing, if a particular behavior becomes intermittent or is a one-off thing, you cannot say it is an abuse. However, being intermittent doesn't mean you can overlook it. So the fact that the person did something to you that was an abuse doesn't mean, oh, it was one-off, so we can overlook it. No. But you should pay more particular attention, or rather it becomes an abuse when it becomes a pattern. And you do it over and over and over again. Let me quote this thing from Kat Asby. She's a pastor, and she says that abuse in marriage is when a person crosses the line, and then the marriage itself crosses the line from being a relationship to enslavement. So now the marriage is no longer a mutual relationship between two people, and she used the Israel and Egypt phenomenon, their life, to explain. So Egypt was brutal to Israel, where you are brutal to your partner, where everything is just about you and not your partner. It has crossed to become an abuse. And remember, it's all about power and dominance. That's all abuse is about. It's about power and dominance. If I can have my way, if I can do what I want to do to you at any time, and I can get away with that, then you know that you have gone into abuse. And there are many ways that we can abuse each other. Many ways, like cultural abuse, like spiritual abuse, religious abuse, physical abuse, domestic violence, and stuff like that. So the operative word is a pattern, and it is a consistent thing they do over and over again in order to exert power and dominance over a person.
Okay. So from your definition, it makes abuse a very comprehensive subject. So these are the forms of abuse. There are so many forms of abuse.
Yes.
So as we are narrowing our conversation down to the spousal, elderly and children abuse, what are some of the forms of abuse that can happen within the circle?
Okay, so in the circle of marriage, elder abuse,
yes, and children abuse.
The commonest one is physical abuse, where one spouse then becomes violent physically to the other partner, or the person you are intimate with becomes physically violent to you. And it involves so many things like heckling, holding the person down, preventing them from, maybe you have a conflict and then you prevent them from going out, to hitting them, to throwing things at them, whether to hit them or not to hit them. All of that can fall under physical abuse.
Okay.
All of that.
Okay.
There is also the psychological abuse,
okay,
which is very common. As a matter of fact, the most prevalent is psychological abuse, where you have one individual who has very painful words to speak to the other person. And by use of their words, they scat you and cut you into pieces. And you have these in areas where a person can belittle the other person, belittle them in various ways, like insulting them right in front of their family, or right in front of friends, or right in front of their children. They can do that. I want to quote a scripture from the book of Proverbs. From the book of Proverbs, chapter 12, verse 18. Proverbs chapter 12, verse 18. It says that the words of the reckless pierce like a sword. So the person, you look at the person outside, they are nice, but when they speak, it's like they've put a sword in your heart.
Okay.
You feel demeaned. You feel like nothing. Proverbs chapter 30 says in the verse 14, there is a generation whose teeth are as sword, and their jaws, or their jaw teeth, as knives. So when a person is psychologically abusing another person, they are very painful in their words they use. Sometimes they intentionally leave you without providing care for you, intimidation, coercing you, harassment, invading your privacy at any time, preventing you from having friends, isolating you from your family, from your friends, and from people who love you. Okay. Some of them will even threaten you, threaten to harm you, or threaten that if you leave me, I'm going to kill you, or I'll kill myself. Okay. They are all forms of psychological abuse. Then in this circle we are talking about, spousal, child, and elderly, there can also be sexual abuse.
Okay.
Sexual abuse. And sexual abuse is the kind of abuse that happens when there is any form of sexual contact, which is non-consensual. When we say non-consensual, it means that you didn't agree to it. So if there is no consent to the sexual activity, it becomes a sexual abuse. In marriage, you can have marital abuse. Rape is a sexual abuse. Sodomy is a sexual abuse. Touching people without their consent is a sexual abuse. Trying to have forcing somebody to become nude in front of you, or to send you their nude photos, or even forcing them to watch a sexual activity is a sexual abuse. When you coerce somebody into any sexual activity without they fully understanding what they are doing, it's a sexual abuse. So it can happen in children, spousal, elderly abuse. And then, of course, elderly abuse itself. So this one is perpetrated by family members. and they do that to elderly people. So the person is in your family, and then you maltreat them.
Intentionally.
Yes, intentionally. You speak to them, you demean them, you use psychological abuse to abuse them.
Okay.
Or you can even, elders go through sexual abuse. Yeah. Or physical abuse. You hit them, and you say all kinds of things to them, to hurt them, to harm them. Of course, child abuse, all of these are under them.
Okay.
Then there is a financial abuse. Yes. So, where you intentionally control all the finances in the family so that you can control the other person is a form of financial abuse. Like, for instance, there's a way people use sex. You either withhold sex from your partner so that you can control your partner. It's a sexual abuse. We say that for fun, but it's like, oh, if you won't give me A, B, and C, then I'll wear panty, I'll wear jeans to bed. It's a form of a sexual abuse. You are withholding, you are using sex as a power to control your spouse. So if somebody is undergoing financial abuse, the abuser will withhold money, or control the money in the house, or will force the spouse to stop working, or you even go to their offices to harass them. I know a particular lady that their husband used to do that, go to the office and embarrass her right in the office. There's all kinds of, to go under psychological abuse, but it can also pass for financial abuse. And then sometimes you hear husbands say, oh, well, I'm angry, so I'll not leave chop money in the house. That is another form of financial abuse. Because remember, abuse is all about control, power, and dominance. Whatever you are doing is to control how the person behaves or how the person relates towards you. Then, of course, there is also cultural abuse that can also happen in spousal abuse, where you use a thing about a person's culture to make derogatory comment about them. Such as, okay, I'm a fancy, so we use a fancy like a fancy bomba, or fancy bema, or yakwaju. Okay. And we just say, I say, I grown crowd, we just say, concept. And sometimes you may think you are saying it for fun, but your spouse is hurt by your insistent comment on the fact that Obedusika. I don't want to use any other tribe. I'm Fanti, so I've used Fanta. But I'm sure you've heard about it. Yes. So,
a whole lot. Like, go for this, Pepe and Kwa.
Okay.
So then,
yes.
So then you go like, you look at your life and you are not Pepe. So then, how did they come by this thing?
It could be a general thing that happens sometimes, or it could be just, for me, I think it's just generalization. I had very derogatory comments about guns and that there's a tribe that is closely related to guns. I've forgotten their name. Yes, very great comment about their women, but it doesn't. The fact that you heard it doesn't mean you can perpetrate it. Because it could be a form of abuse to your partner. Your partner feels little after you say things like that. So
with this vast form of abuse, honestly, when it comes to abuse, we are mostly focused on the physical. Most of the times, you are focused on the physical. So how then do I pinpoint that the person might not hit me? So how then do I pinpoint that I'm being abused when we take the physical aspect out? How can I tell that I'm being abused or a friend is being abused with their action?
That's a very good question. Now, don't take physical abuse out, because sometimes you have people who get physical abuse and then they suddenly have a change in behavior. Notice that. For instance, the lady doesn't put on makeups and then suddenly she's putting on expensive makeups. It could be hiding bruises.
Yes.
You have
I mostly do that when I'm down. That's when I make up a lot. When I put on much makeup, and that means something is wrong with me.
You see?
Most of the time.
So, in this same, assuming, God forbid, but assuming you marry a man who, I don't want to use you, but if a person like you marries a man who is physically abusive, you would suddenly see that, the Stephanie who used to do mild makeups are starting doing dramatic makeup. That if you take off the pawns is like a cement put on the wall. You know there is something wrong because you are hiding bruises. And sometimes you also see that you can have unexplained cut, unexplained injuries. And when you ask the person, their story doesn't match the explanation of the cuts, the bruises,
Okay.
or sometimes the injuries the people have does not fall in line with their line of work.
Okay.
So I'm not a butcher, and then you see me with a severe cut on my hand or my fingers. It should raise questions. Family people should look at it and say, "Hey, girl, what's happening?" And children do this a lot. They have a toned down behavior when a certain person is around. It tells you that the abuser is around.
Yeah, they quarrel in sometimes.
They quarrel inside sometimes.
Yes.
You see the child who was playing around suddenly has stopped playing. It tells you that the abuser is around. When I was growing up, I won't use it because they're very close to me.
Okay.
The father was so brutal when he hears the father's car, like the house was such a way that when the father's coming, you know that he's coming. And then the father drives in particular with he has to stop everything, put everything in place. If he's watching TV, he puts the TV off just to make sure he's fine. So it tells you that there's an abuser that is coming into the house. Psychological abuse. You see a person with an extreme low self-esteem.
Yes.
It tells you something is wrong. Drastic change in behavior patterns. Sometimes they are only trying to compensate for the abuse they've been going through.
Okay.
You see people who suddenly become sexually promiscuous, and you say, "Oh, this girl is a bad girl. This girl is a..." No, not really. Don't be quick to judge.
Okay.
For all you know, because of the meaninglessness she's been receiving from the house or from the partner she's going out with or whoever it is, she wants to prove herself, to prove to herself that I'm still good enough. And oftentimes the way to prove myself is try to jump and who will approve of me. So it's a typical example. Depression.
Okay.
Depression is a typical example of somebody who's going through psychological abuse. Insomnia. They can't sleep. They have a difficulty being able to concentrate. And then let me say this: change in eating habits. Yeah. If for instance the partner keeps saying you are fat, suddenly she's eating like this so that she can exactly. But girlfriend, you used to eat 3 kgs, 3 bowls of it.
What's happening to the house?
I just want to lose weight, but it's become too drastic.
Okay.
So it tells you that there is something wrong. Domestic violence, which I didn't mention, is because it encompasses all of them.
Okay.
So when you see somebody who is going through domestic violence, you see that, when a certain person is around them, they call him. You see low self-esteem. You see a certain sense of apprehension. You have to be, that I think apprehension runs through all of them. If somebody is going through sexual abuse, they have a certain sense of apprehension when a certain person is around them. So when your daughter or your child or your friend tells you, "I don't want to be around this person," don't just go up and this a nice person is. No, it's not like that. You have to listen to them. Why don't you want to be around this person? And you may be shocked the things they will tell you. Of course, sexual abuse, you see blood stains, you see bruises on the thighs, sometimes in the faces. You see people get pregnant that they cannot explain how they got pregnant. Discharge from the genitals or the rectal area, or stuff like that. I remember a particular incident a friend told me. She had a school, she runs a school, and she realized that this young girl has a very funny behavior towards guys. She's 3 years old girl, and when she see the 3-year-old boys, she started playing with their manhood and stuff like that. What is happening to? Of course, that also is a sign. It's a sign. The person suddenly becomes sexually promiscuous. In adult, it happens. So she started becoming curious about this 3-year-old girl. So one day, the girl was going to the caretaker was taking off her diaper, and she realized there was blood stain in the diaper early in the morning. And she thought immediately it would be the taxi driver who brings the girl home. So she devised a plan. The next day, the taxi driver dropped the young girl, and then she called the taxi driver and said, "I'm going to arrest you. I've called the police to arrest you." She exaggerated so that the guy would tell the truth. we've seen that you've been molesting the girl. So no, I'm not been molesting them. It's just my finger I use. And he tells...
On that 3-year-old
Yes. And he tells the whole story. So, of course, she got her... She informed the parent, and the parent got him arrested.
Okay.
The same person who's been taking their daughter from the house is the same person who's molesting their daughter. So when you see things like that, you don't just ignore it. Financial abuse, the person doesn't have money. They don't have control over their money. They earn a lot of money by suddenly, girlfriend, but what are you doing with your money? And they don't save it. Always borrowing. Always seem to be in debt. Always seem to need money for something. And you are wondering about what happens to your income. It should be a pointer to tell you that something is happening.
Between the same person?
Yes.
So I can abuse myself?
There's self-abuse.
Okay.
Because we are streamlining or situating the area of spousal, child, and elderly abuse.
Okay.
Yes, but there's a self-abuse,
Okay.
self-harm is
Okay.
there. There's also a symptom.
Okay.
When you see somebody doing self-harm, it's possible they are going through psychological abuse, they are going through physical abuse, and they are taking the pain on themselves.
Okay. So who are the abusers?
Who are the abusers? Abusers look like us. When I say us, I'm assuming you're not an abuser. I'm not an abuser. So, but the point is, abusers look like everybody else.
Okay.
They are normal, or in quotes, they look like normal people.
Okay.
And so, the father can be an abuser, the husband,
Okay.
the mother, the wife, the grandparent, the siblings, family, relatives, even coaches, teachers. Every kind of person can be. The abuser looks very, very much like every other person.
Okay.
I've had stories, I've had interactions with different people. One young lady told me it was the grandfather, when she was growing up, it was the grandfather was doing that to her. Terrible. I mean, the grandfather is supposed to be happy for her grandkids, or for his grandkids, but this is what he was doing too. But they are pointers.
Yes. I was about to come.
Yeah, you're coming there. Yes, they are pointers. There are things that could tell a person, or that could tell you that look out for these things. There's a possible pointer that this person is an abuser.
Okay.
One, people have themselves been abused.
Okay.
Yeah. So, if they suffered abuse while they were growing up, if they suffered abuse as a child at the hands of their parent, they are likely going to abuse. I'm not saying they will, I'm saying it's a point that they are likely. They have a higher propensity of abusing their kids, or abusing their spouse, or abusing the person who is with them.
Okay.
That's the first pointer. So, like they say, hurt people hurt people. So abusers abuse people. There's a story I read. There's this young guy who terribly abuses and sodomizes young boys. And when he was apprehended, the police said to him, but you have this, what you're doing is terrible. And we went through your record as a child and realized that you were molested 3 different times. So why are you doing that? He said, well, I was abused, so I'm also abusing people. He said, you were hurt and you went through pain, so why are you perpetrating the pain? He said, well, I went through it, so let them also go through it. So don't you care? He says, I don't care.
So that means he's aware.
Yes,
of what
abusers
he's
are
doing.
aware.
Okay.
Every abuser is aware of what he or she is doing. Make no mistake. Every abuser is aware.
Okay.
Every abuser is aware. You may not know you are abusing people, some people genuinely,
Okay.
but every abuser is
It's
aware.
aware.
Alright, so that is pointer number 1. Pointer number 2, people who are cruel.
What way?
So watch their relationship with people.
Okay.
Watch their relationship with animals. You know, you look at kids. When kids are playing, you see some of them can do. You see parents to be out and screaming, "Why are you doing that?"
Yes.
You can observe kids playing, and then I think when I was growing up, there was this guy with us. I was terribly afraid of that guy. I mean, he can do all kinds of nasty stuff, like spit and force you to take it into your mouth, that kind of thing. You know.
Does it give them satisfaction or what?
Yes.
It does.
You know, we are not talking about narcissism.
Okay.
Assuming we are talking about narcissists, which is the baseline or the core for all kinds of personality disorder, like psychopaths, sociopaths, and those group of people. They enjoy what they do.
Okay.
Yes, they really enjoy. So give them a first form of satisfaction, like a sadist. It gives a sadist some form of satisfaction that he is inflicting pain
on the other.
Yes, so people who are cruel to, yes, is a pointer. Watch.
Okay.
Watch people who have very bad temper. Extremely, I mean, they have rapturous temper.
Okay.
Watch people who can suddenly change in their attitude without any explanation. Like today, you see them, they are hey. The next month, they are totally, like you're looking at a totally different person.
Okay.
It's a pointer. It tells you that they can, I mean, they keep shifting the post, they can do anything. It's a pointer. Watch people that everything revolves around them.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the same fun, but it's very dangerous attitude. When you are in a conversation with them, they keep talking about themselves.
Okay.
When you are telling them your problem, they quickly switch up to tell you their problem.
Okay.
When you are talking about your achievement, quickly they switch it and they start talking about their achievement. When you are wrong, you are wrong. When they are wrong, you are wrong.
Yes.
You get it? Yes. Everything, the world revolves around them. They are never sorry.
They are always right.
They are always right.
Yeah.
Be very careful.
Okay.
There's a pointer. You can easily psychologically abuse you. And then I'll say for the last, because I'm sure you have a lot of questions. People who are extremely jealous. Yeah. You know, sometimes you hear women say, "Oh, my husband is jealous of me." I mean, it's not a good sign. I mean, jealousy is good. Of course, you don't. Jealousy to some extent, I'll say. But you have to be very careful of people who are extremely jealous. Who are you talking to? Who did you call?
Okay.
They take your phone. I want to know who you're talking to last night. When I came to your office, there was this guy who was smiling with you. Do you have a crush on him? No.
Okay.
You are entering a dangerous spot. Okay. Be very careful.
Okay. All right. Okay. Pastor, so we have this question. I know my husband loves me. He has anger issues and sometimes goes overboard. I must say sometimes I feel like I contribute to this. One thing he does is to hit me once or twice. And he apologizes and often he's remorseful after a while. So, can you advise me? Because he keeps doing it and then keeps apologizing. And does it again.
Once or twice a year.
Yes.
That's a typical domestic violence. And it's a typical abuse. This person is going through an abuse and you must not take it for granted.
Okay.
No, not at all. Most domestic violent people or abusers will say, "I will stop."
Okay.
But they will not stop. It's been proven through research that often the violence gets worse. And most women who are at risk to domestic violence are married. Most. I'm not saying this to scare the questioner.
Okay.
I'm saying this so that you will understand the weight of what you are going through. And if the husband is listening, the weight of what he is doing, the path he is charting, and the possible end it will take them to.
Okay.
I'll use a recent example. Somewhere 2 years ago, a man in Kumasi has been physically abusing the wife, beats the wife and all of that. So the wife goes to the police station, reports the case, and then the man is arrested. And the man is told that you cannot do this. If you do this, we'll give you sanction A, B, C, and D. And he gets angry. He does it again. So court rules the case, and the man loses. The woman wins, and the house they built together is given to the woman.
Okay.
And there are 2 kids. I think there are 2 kids or 3 kids. This man who had been violating and abusing the wife comes to their house and breaks the doors of the house in Kumasi. You can check it out. Breaks the doors of the house and the windows of the house, and he set the house on fire while the woman and the kids were in there. And when he finished, he killed himself. Well, when we were in school, one of our lecturers shared a story with us.
Okay.
a woman who had been abused by the husband, and then the husband goes to the church to report the case. And then the pastor says, don't worry, it's part of this. And then, your husband will be okay. And they call the husband, okay, let's talk and all of that. The husband goes home, gets angry, and butchers the woman to death. So, this person should understand this. This is a typical example of an abuser.
Okay.
Because you could hear from her that she feels sometimes she contributes
to his anger.
That is what abusers do. Abusers will make you feel like it was your fault. I acted the way I acted. It was because of A and B and C you did. That is the reason why I did E, F, and G. It is never your fault. It is never your fault. I'm not saying that to say that you have not made any mistake. I'm saying that domestic violence or abuse cannot be justified in any way. It is wrong, and it must never be justified. The abuser is making you feel the way you are feeling so that you don't press charges, so that you don't put the charges or the issue on him. And when they consistently do that, they wear you off. They erode your person, erode your confidence, erode your dignity, erode your soul. So by the time you have been with them for 15, 13, 3 years, whatever, you have lost all confidence in yourself because you think whatever is happening to you, you deserve it. As for the I'm sorry, it's a very typical cycle of abuse. Abuse is a cycle. All abusive relationships have a cycle. It starts with love blooming or love bombing. Laura Sharon says that. It says that in the beginning they have all the right words, they say all the right things. They are your Prince Charming, they are Rapunzel. They keep saying things like, I've not met a woman like you, I've not met a man like you. Where did that pass? They buy you all the right things, they take you out, they get you chocolate. You like chocolate? So they'll get you a lot of chocolate. I mean, while you're in the office, surprise visits and stuff like that, and then you fall deeply.
They make you feel like they can never do you wrong.
No, they are the Prince Charming. They have an amazing charm around them, and you are deeply in love with them. But then they start to build tension. The tension is this way: they start picking up little things about you. I don't like your hair. You are too this dress doesn't. And then why don't you start wearing necklace, and why don't you start doing your face this way? And my ex-girlfriend was like this. My ex-boyfriend was like this. My ex-wife was like this. It's little things. Then you move to the stage of eruption. The stage of eruption is often when you begin to express your disapproval. That I don't like you saying these things. And then they erupt. Out of nowhere, you see a certain kind of anger, you don't know where is this coming from. I am expressing my disapproval, and he is angry. So that is how come the woman is feeling like it is her fault.
It's her fault.
Because I don't like you saying these things about me. I don't like you talking to me like this in front of the case. I don't like what you're hating me. And then they explode. Sometimes out of a simple conversation, they get angry and say all kinds of things. And often physical abusers are psychological abusers. They say all kinds of things to you. You get so hurt. You express it, and then you start getting little comments like you are too sensitive. So you can't take adult criticisms. This little thing I said, you are so angry.
You personalize everything.
You personalize everything. Meanwhile, they are the ones who caused you the pain, and they are blaming you for being in pain. That's a typical abuser. The last bit is the heart and the flowers. So the first is the love bombing. The second is the building tension. The third is the eruption. Then they go through the process of hearts and flowers. Hearts and flowers, then they come and throw in, I'm sorry, I will not do this again. I promise you. I
don't know what came over me.
I don't know what came over me. It just happened. And they do that. It's also manipulative tactics by an abuser. Yeah? Because when he does that, he's throwing you or she's throwing you little crumbs. And so you are thinking in your mind, oh, perhaps this is not that bad. Perhaps he's really sorry. Maybe he didn't really mean it. Maybe I went overboard. Maybe I said too much. And then you buy into it. So they become nice again. They love bomb you again a little. they start picking up things about you again, but this time it's deeper.
Okay.
They erupt again.
Okay.
They come to you and say, I'm sorry again. The same cycle over and over and over again. So that said, dear young lady, what we say to all people who are going through abuse is this: that first of all, seek professional counseling.
Okay.
People who understand the problems of the mind and listen to them. Take your husband there. Professional counselors will give your husband things to follow.
Okay.
What must be done. And if they don't do it, oftentimes we will recommend separation. Separation is not divorce. So you stay away from them, especially when you deal with physical abuse,
Okay.
so that your life is saved. Because your life is very important. Let me not go to, but your life is precious. The same God who guards marriage guards life.
Okay. Okay.
I hope if the person is listening is getting this.
Okay.
Because they will ask you to, okay, so then be separate. Let's observe you to see.
Okay.
And then when you come together and the person is still not changed, you treat the abuse as the crime it is. I don't know if I said this. It's a crime. It's a criminal offense. Yes. All forms of abuse is a criminal offense. Child abuse, elderly abuse, sexual abuse, psychological abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, cultural abuse, all of them.
Now, are we all aware that it is criminal offense?
I'm not too sure, because myself, until I started pulling and studying and researching and finding out, I realized that, yeah, they are. But until then, I didn't know. I knew, yes, because of those and certain organizations in Ghana, we knew that domestic violence and abuse.
Okay.
But people think that, okay, domestic, I'm not hitting you. So where's the crime?
Okay.
But psychological, you are withholding money from us, you are molesting us, you are marital raping me and stuff like that.
Okay.
They also treat it as a criminal offense it is if he is not changing his ways.
Okay. I don't mean to take you back, but then with the question that this person asked, so could it be that she did not pay attention to the prompters in the relationship before they married, or the man or the supposed husband never showed these signs? It only showed up in the marriage.
You know, when I was talking about the prompters of
Yes.
abuse,
Yeah.
I left something out.
Okay.
People who have an unusual charm. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it's too good to be true. I don't side with that. But be very careful when you're related to people who have an unusual charm. Like they have no fault. Like
They are good at everything.
Like they never get angry. For instance, when couples come to me, one of the things I do in premarital counseling, when you come, I ask you, have you fought before? And when you say, oh, Pastor, we've not fought before, we are fine. I'm so like, okay, all right, so get up, you're not ready for counseling.
Go back and fight.
And come.
Okay.
And oftentimes when I do that, you see the couple looking at my face like, I'm not going to go out and go and fight.
Okay.
Because none of you is real. We're all coming from different homes, different backgrounds, different things in our soil. So, abusers, this lady, is a name, Leif.
Okay.
She said that an abuser can have his or her charm on for as long as 3 years.
Okay.
So you can go out with a person for 3 years and never ever know that they are abusers. But they'll be here and there. So
when you pay particular attention.
yes. Like I'm saying, if a young person is listening, you're not married, pay attention.
Okay.
Don't just let things pass.
Okay. And this question too. We are not married, but we live as couples, even though he gets other gigs elsewhere when he wants to. He has a terrible anger. He emotionally hurts me so badly, but anytime I want to leave, he says he's sorry or he will kill himself. We even have a child together, like I said. But because of his rapturous anger, my girl, that's their child, is literally afraid of him. If I break anything of his reactions are always overboard. Please, what should I do?
Please walk away.
As simple as that.
It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Please, dear young lady, walk away because it will not stop. It's just similar to the first question.
Yes.
Is that the first person is married, so
This
that's
one.
the things you're supposed to do. This one, you are not married. And the danger is already you are living as a couple. So he thinks he has you.
And they have a child
You
together,
have a
which
child together,
binds
something
them.
binds you together. So where can you go? It strengthens his abusive trait
Okay.
and power, of course. So you think you change. Like I said in the cycle of abuse, he will not change. He is going to do the same thing. And whenever you want to walk away, he's going to throw you the hearts and the flowers and the chocolates, yes, and whatever you love,
Okay.
and then deceive you that, oh, he still loves you. So you come back to him, and then he will repeat the same actions. You see, one of the things you need to understand about abuse is that in any case of abuse, it is their needs that comes first, not yours. Remember I told you that one of the signs of abusers is that the world revolves around them. So he thinks it's okay to get his need met outside you. I know it's not right for you to have sex. You are not married, but you are doing it. So, but he now thinks that, well, if you cannot provide me with sex today, I can get it somewhere. And he sees nothing wrong with that. He doesn't know you are being hurt. When you talk about it, he's going to use words that are going to hurt you. Yeah, you don't do this, you don't do this, you don't do this. You know, I wanted this particular sexual position, I was not getting, so, and then you feel bad that you're not doing it. You may think that, well, if I improve my game in the bed, he will not change. Because for abusers, the target keeps changing.
Okay, they are never satisfied.
No!
Their drive keeps changing.
Their drive keeps changing. The target keeps changing. The rules of the game keeps changing. So today, you were complimented about this. Tomorrow you'll be chastised for the same thing. So you think, oh well, maybe if I start dressing in a particular way, he'll be happy. You start dressing in a particular way, 2 or 3 days later, he's angry with the way you dress. Okay, so if I'm a gymnastic in bed, he will stay. If you like, put your neck on the ground. Do whatever you want to do.
He'll crave for another thing.
He will crave for, because the target keeps changing. That and they'll keep comparing you in subtle and in profound ways, in covert and in overt ways. They'll compare you. You know, my ex-girlfriend does the hair like this. Why don't you do your hair like that? Before you realize you have lost yourself.
Yes. I hate the way you walk.
I hate the way you walk. I hate the way you talk. When we go for party, why don't you cut walk a little? Why gym? You understand?
Yeah. And then it sinks deep.
Yeah.
And sometimes it confuses you because
what should I do? What to make him happy? So you must understand this. And if anybody is listening to me, listening to us, whoever you are with, that you feel like you're losing yourself, please, if it is not marriage, walk away.
But it's not as simple as you said.
I know.
So to that person who doesn't have the courage to walk away,
seek help.
Okay.
Seek help. Don't joke with it. Seek help.
Okay.
And you'll be amazed. Help is all over around you. When you seek help, you get it. One of the things abusers do is that they'll cut you off all your friends. People who support you, I don't like Stephanie. Stephanie is this kind of person. And you realize that almost all your friends who help you to be grounded, he doesn't like them.
Yes.
Or she doesn't like them. So you are left alone.
With him.
With him. So you are stuck. And remember I said that they erode your personality.
Yes.
Erode your confidence.
The cycles.
So it comes to they will so erode you to the point that now you need them to survive. It's called codependence. You need them. Because they keep telling you you are crazy. They keep telling you you are off. And you keep measuring yourself by what they are saying to you. So who else am I going to go out with who will love the mess that I am? Which you are not. But he or she is making you feel like you are. I like your face.
This is getting interesting because mostly we don't pay attention. and we feel they are the best because they seem to tell you the right thing at the right moment.
Yeah.
Okay, so with what you said with the question that we were tackling, let's assume that this lady does not have the courage to walk out, like you said. What is actually keeping her? What is preventing her from opting out, but rather want to stay?
What is preventing her
From
is
opting
what
out, yes.
prevents a lot of other people, male, female, whoever it is, from walking away from abusive relationships. Early this year, I did a sermon on 15 reasons people stay in a dysfunctional or bad relationship.
Okay.
I'm not going to do that sermon again. So you can get it. I'm sure it's online.
Okay.
But 15 reasons people stay in a bad relationship. So it could be anything from financial instability, if I leave them, who's going to take care of me and my kids and stuff like that, to a sense of feeling that they are not enough. If they go out, who are they going to find? And to thinking that everybody is bad, everything is out there, it's the same out there. And even to the extent of falling in love with the abuser. Some people are genuinely, truly in love with the abuser. I think DC movies explore that, where Harley Quinn falls in love with Joker, who is so it happens.
Okay.
But I'll discuss 3 or maybe just 2 reasons people actually stay in
an abusive relationship.
The biggest of them is brainwashing.
Okay.
The abuser brainwashes the victim to the point of thinking that when you step out there, you're not going to get anybody. Because they've told you you're a mess, you're a mess, you're crazy.
You're not good enough.
You're not good enough, and you absorb it, you feel it, you know. Even though it's not right, it's become your life now.
Yes.
So when you're stepping out there, who would want a mess like me? So why don't I stay here and be okay? But that is a lie. It's a big lie. You are not a mess. There is great things inside there, great things inside you. When you step out there for help, you'll be amazed how many people will help you. And when you get grounded again, you'll be amazed how many people want you. I was speaking to a young lady, 2 kids, and the boyfriend is an abuser. And then he says that, I don't know who will marry me. I said, you have no idea how pretty you are. And how many people would want to be with somebody like you? You say, but I'm born 2. Forgive me, but that's the word. I'm born 2. I say, yeah, somebody else also born 3. They still get married. But abuser brainwashes you to think that you are not enough. They've eroded your self-confidence. Well, let me talk about this. This is painful, but it's true. Okay. The reason why people don't walk away is because it is their reality. Yeah, let me explain. Okay. For instance, they were abused when they were growing up. Your mother never really appreciated you for who you are. Your parents never really loved you. In school, you're being compared. So you grow up feeling and thinking that you have to do something to earn love. In your mind, you are thinking, I will never go out with a man who's like my father.
Yes.
But you end up, because your psychological framework and your subconscious is telling you that you are not enough. You have to find somebody like your father and prove to him, even though your father is never watching, that you see, you could do it. Okay. So it's become your reality. It's become your life. It is what you see and the pattern of habit which you have grown for a long time. You know, I was talking to somebody and I asked, did your mother ever say to you, shame on you? He says, no. You get shame on you, shame on you. So you may think it's a very simple thing, but to a child it's very scathing. So you know that you have to do something for approval. Okay. You marry someone or you be in a relationship with someone who you need to do something that they will find. They will find it as something that they approve of to get love. It's a very terrible thing. I've forgotten the name of the doctor. He did a spectrum and says that the narcissists or the abusers, most abusers, are at the far end of the spectrum where they have no feeling, they don't care about anything but just themselves, to the very far end where it's the empath. Empaths live their whole life for the other person. And abusers look for
empath. Okay.
So
that they can rule.
They can dominate.
Okay.
So the empath has he or she has sacrificed her happiness, her need, her senses, her everything, so that to make the please the abuser. And okay, I said to let me say the last one.
Okay.
The last one is that it's become a norm to you. Most people think abuse is normal. A lot. I listen to a lot of talk shows, and you see them on TV and say, "Oh, all men cheat."
Yes.
Sister,
it's the new normal.
Sister, all men don't cheat. It has become your normal.
Okay.
But you see, the same woman who is saying all men cheat, don't worry, even when it doesn't mean anything. The same one will tell you how hurt she is that the husband or the boyfriend is doing that. I remember one occasion when a young boy, he's an Ewe, he said that, no Ewe man can be faithful to one woman. And I said, that is an insult. Do you know how many faithful Ewe men you are insulting because of your infidelity and your lack of faithfulness? What do you mean that all Ewe men can be faithful? It's because it has become your normal. So when you are used to normal, what makes you think that a person who, for instance, you're a girlfriend, you were being cheated upon, and then you finally marry, and it's happening.
This is what I'm used to.
And news.
Okay.
When you were a child, you were molested, you were beaten, nobody really complimented you. You are married, your husband is doing the same. Of course, your reality says choose him, so you chose him, and then he's doing the same. It's just normal. I remember one couple. I was talking to the gentleman. The gentleman says to me, my wife can say some of the most degrading things to you, and you can't believe it came from the same mouth of this pretty woman. I said, really? He said, yeah. I said, one day we had a disagreement, we were talking, and I woke her up and she says, hey, brother, I need to meditate more. So talk, I'm listening. You may think it's a very casual statement, it's a very painful thing to say to any person. Yeah.
So, how must this victim respond with this abusive relationship?
Yeah,
how should I respond if I find myself there? How should I respond to it?
Like I said, if you're not married to a person like this, walk away.
Walk away.
In all kinds of abusive, we say walk away. Even though we know it's not easy to walk away. For instance, if a child is being molested by the parent, the child cannot easily walk away.
Yes.
If an elderly person is being molested by the parent, an elderly person cannot easily walk away. Where are you going?
Right.
So, the walk away is not just a generic term we are using. No.
Okay.
We are telling you, get away from the abuse. It's fire, get away, it will burn you.
Okay.
What do you do? Okay. Some of the walk away means seek help.
Okay.
The child must talk. The elderly person must seek help.
Okay.
I know I'm going to be in trouble, but I'll say this. That's the reason why sometimes I tell my wife this all the time. I don't like the way some of the Kumaru movies portray the relationship between in-laws and the spouses or elderly people. I've seen Kumaru movies where somebody threw water on the elderly person, some people push them down, it's an abuse. And when we do that, unconsciously, you are telling people that it's acceptable. It's wrong. It's wrong. So you're going to abuse, walk away. And some of the walking away means that you have to seek help. And sometimes that means that report it to the criminal.
Okay. So I'm a child.
Yeah.
So how do I walk away? Who do I talk to?
Yeah, it's a very good question. You have a family. Aside having a family, what's the name of the child support group we have in Ghana that a child can report abuse to, apart from DOFSU? Okay, well, there's DOFSU. You can. We have to give our children voices.
Okay.
You can report to a pastor, and if a pastor is good enough, he knows the right thing to do. Is to channel to the corporate institutions that can help establish the child.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, when we were growing up, we had all kinds of people telling us stories, stepmothers doing all kinds of things. It is totally unacceptable. Totally. Well, today you can't do that. I don't know if they are still doing it, but there are NGOs that are ready to support kids and stuff. Okay. So don't keep quiet. That's the most important thing.
Okay.
And if you are not married, Get
walk
out.
away. So the most basic thing is to walk away. Yeah. Be it literally or whichever way that walking away means to you. You just have to walk away.
So that it will stop
Okay.
the abuse.
Okay. 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 You see, when you made mention of pastor, this question popped up. I didn't know my pastor was sexually abusing me. I am still not sure if he is. He passes comments about my body that makes me uncomfortable. Sometimes his conversation with me is too sexual. I feel like he hugs me for too long. Please, he's a good person. What should I do with this event?
It's the good people that that are difficult to deal with. I mean, the bad person is just a bad person.
You reach the bad person, you definitely withdraw.
The difference between flirtation and abuse, I have to be very clear. I have to be very careful because I'm a pastor. Before somebody says, Pastor Titi, I've been abusing you. Flirtation is with your consent. So your pastor says things,
and you edge him on.
Yeah, that is flirtation.
Okay.
Abuse is without your consent. In this case, the person says, I feel uncomfortable.
Yes.
And I don't know whether the discomfort is out of your moral compass telling you that, hey, he's going too far.
Okay.
Or it is that he's really going too far. And you know he's going too far, but you feel powerless to stop him. There, abuse is rearing its head. Because remember, I told you abuse is all about power,
dominance.
And dominance, yes. So your pastor already has an obvious power over you.
Okay. Yes.
Of course. So he's then beginning to probably use it
to dominate
you for his own gratification. Okay. But you are not enjoying it. You don't consent to it. You are not comfortable with it. There is a possible abuse coming up. Let me. When you mentioned abuse, I did a little reading in the Criminal Act law in Ghana. So, Section 103 of Act 29 of the Criminal Law in Ghana says, indecent assault is when a person commits the offense of indecent assault if, without the consent of the other person, he forcibly makes any sexual bodily contact with other person or sexually violates the body of that other person in any manner not amounting to carnal knowledge or unnatural knowledge. So carnal knowledge means that you have an intercourse or something. Okay. But here myself, I'm not a lawyer, but I think that there must be some kind of amendment to this law because they say he. Women can also sexually assault men. So every form of indecent touch, every form, indecent, holding, exposing body part to you and stuff like that, making comment that you think it is going too far and stuff like this, you need to know that you are being abused. Now, she said, I don't even know whether I am truly being abused or not. Often it's like that.
And he's a good person.
Yes, because
which blinds you from the pointer.
Exactly. So now you don't really know whether you are just accusing him falsely but any time where consent is under duress, the law also says that that consent is void. So I'll read that one too. Okay. Section 14 of Act 29 says consent is void if it is obtained by deceit or duress, given by reason of any fundamental mistake. So, for instance, this woman feels like I'm under pressure. If I don't say yes, maybe your pastor is touching you. He's hugging you too long, and when he hugs you, he's groping you. You realize that he's touching your breast, but you feel like I can't say no. So you are agreeing to it, but you really don't want to agree to it. It's a consent under duress. It's an abuse. Okay. So, dear young lady, you have to be able to determine or define what your discomfort really is. Okay. And if you realize that yes, from what you just said, it's an abuse, then it means that if you don't want to leave the church, stop serving the pastor personally.
Do you inform him?
No, you can't.
Due to this, I'm not serving you.
No, you can't say that. Because you're abusing me.
No.
You just, pastor, I feel like I don't want to be in the protocol or in the green room again. I want to be in the intercessory department or the cleaners. Something. It's just, it keeps you safe. It's part of the walking away.
Okay.
Or walk away from the church. Go somewhere else before the worst happens to you.
Okay.
Because assuming this pastor ends up raping you, God forbid,